29 years ago, at this very spot, I made an announcement. It was an important announcement for us as a family. It turned out to be an important announcement for the history of the state. The question was whether I would give up a safe House seat, which I had had for 14 years, and risk it all to run for the United States Senate. I made the decision to go forward and do it. And so for the last 29 years, I've been vindicated. That decision paid off. Now I had to face the tough reelection decision for my sixth term in the United States Senate. I love this job. I think it's a terrific job. But I also know reality. There comes a point in your career when the torch must be passed, and I've reached that point. I will not be seeking reelection to this United States Senate seat. Now, by way of warning, I want to tell you, it's a long goodbye. I will be serving in the Senate for a year and a half more until January of 2027. And I plan on being actively involved in the business of the Senate during that entire period of time. But I also reflect today on the reality that I will have completed the longest Senate term of any senator popularly elected in the state of Illinois' history. I'm truly grateful to the voters for giving me that opportunity, and I've tried to use it effectively. I've done this my way, and it meant making decisions based on family needs and personal needs and what I thought would serve our state well. First thing, I came home virtually every weekend. 50 round trips a year between Washington, D.C. and the state of Illinois. Many of the times I came home after going through Chicago on a Saturday and invited friends who were here to have a glass of wine on my deck while we sit there and watch the White House Correspondents' Dinner from my deck. It was a much better venue, and I didn't have to wear a black tie. But I did it in my own fashion and continue to over the years. Now we have an opportunity to move forward with the the election of a new United States Senator. We're lucky we have a strong Democratic bench. I mean it. You've heard some names already. Believe me, you're going to hear more, because they've been calling over the last several months and talking about the fact they wouldn't run against me, but they wanted my blessing to run. I'm not planning on endorsing any particular candidate. I hope I don't have to, but I'm not ruling out the possibility in an extreme case. I just think it's up to the voters, the Democratic voters, to make this choice moving forward. Now, here's the good news. I have a great colleague in the United States Senate named Tammy Duckworth. I take credit for it. I think I can prove that I discovered her. I invited her to a State of the Union address in Washington to be my guest when she was still a patient at Walter Reed Hospital, just weeks after her helicopter was shot down over Iraq. Her husband, Brian, also in the Illinois National Guard, pushed her wheelchair into my office, and I met her for the first time. She blew me away. She's an amazing, strong, principled, energetic, talented person. She'll be a great senior senator from the state of Illinois, and I know that she'll carry on in the traditions that I've tried to establish. And so I just want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank, in particular, this young lady who lives in this house with me, named Loretta. We've raised our family in this house. And we've lived in this neighborhood for how many years?
Since
47. 47 years we've lived in this neighborhood, so that's an important part of our lives too. I also want to thank the best Senate staff in the world. Thank you all for being here. They deserve that, Chuck. And now open up to any questions you might have.
Senator, you said that you're not going to endorse anybody, but what kind of qualities and character would you be looking for in someone to best succeed you? Do you think would you be looking for a female candidate, person of color, or any other qualities that stand out for someone to be your successor?
Well, I'm not going to set the criteria. That's for the voter to decide. And they took a risk with me. I'm a downstate Democrat. That's kind of a vanishing breed when you consider federal office, particularly the United States Senate. And many of them had never heard of me. A fellow named Paul Simon blessed me with his endorsement, and I moved forward, and things worked out for the best. Look at Tammy Duckworth's background. Asian American, veteran, what she's done as background. I mean, it's up to the voters to decide what's right and who the right person is. I'm not going to make that decision. But I am confident we are going to have a diverse group of candidates running for the United States Senate, and it's going to make a difference.
So what does your decision mean to retire as far as the political breakup for upstate and downstate? To follow up on what you said about downstate Democrats being a dying breed.
The only thing I can say is I'm saying to everyone who is a candidate, work the entire state. Discover downstate if you don't know it. Discover the suburbs, the surrounding counties in Cook County, the city of Chicago. Come and discover these wards and precincts. That's been one of the real blessings of this job, and I'll just say it flat out. I was born and raised in East St. Louis. We raised our kids in Springfield, but I love Chicago. And the people who want to badmouth that town are in for a fight with me. It's a great city, and I've been honored to represent it.
Senator, what kind of conversations did you have with the Pritzker administration and the lieutenant governor before your announcement?
Well, conversations, I wouldn't call them that. I did have a conversation with Juliana. She told me that she was interested, but she wasn't going to run against me, and others have done the same. And when it came to JB, I gave him a call before I made the announcement yesterday.
Senator,
What?
In a year and a half, you walk out the last time, then what are you going to do?
I don't know. I just don't know. I've been paying into a pension system for a long time. I may even draw a check out of it. We'll see. But that is not all I want to do. I don't want to sit in a rocking chair anywhere. I want to be actively engaged in the actions and passions of our time, as Oliver Wendell Holmes said.
Senator, just to reflect on, or to follow up on Jeremy's question, just reflect upon the change in the political geography of the state since you first ran for the Senate. When your seat was a safe Democratic seat. Now a Democrat probably could not win it as it was drawn.
When I announced 29 years ago, if I said I'm going to carry DuPage County, you'd have laughed out loud.
Right, but
now I'm going to carry DuPage County as a Democrat running for the Senate. It's quite possible. If I said to you, downstate is hopeless beyond the Metro East area and Jackson County and a few places, you'd say, what about Bloomington? And said, sorry, we're not ready. We're ready now. We've got places where we are showing real progress in the Democratic Party, building that party. My message to everyone interested in running for office statewide, run in the entire state from one corner to the next. Don't assume a damn thing. These are voters who want to hear from you and want to know if you're going to make their lives any better.
Does it concern you, though, that with the majority of the electorate now in the Chicago area, in the collar counties, in Cook County, that downstate might not get the attention that it deserves without a downstate senator?
I don't believe that. I think the person who is successful in running for this office is going to understand they've got to not only represent the entire state, they've got to work the entire state, and we've done that.
Do you think you leaving as a downstate
I can't give you every question.
Yes. How much did the national political climate, the Trump administration, play into your decision to step aside?
Well, it played against my decision. The madder I got about what Trump is doing to this country and to the Constitution, the more I wanted to serve and not step aside. But I'm going to spend the next year and a half doing my best to honor the Constitution and protect it.
Senator, how much is
Go ahead.
Going off of that last question there, we've heard from Lieutenant Governor Stratton that she's already announced her campaign, and she's making it very clear pushing back against the Trump administration is going to be at the forefront of her campaign messaging. I'm sure that's going to be the case going forward. Is that a winning strategy for a Democratic primary?
Well, it's an important place to start in the Democratic primary. There's an intensity of feeling about what the president has done in his first 100 days, and I share that feeling. There is an energy that you see in the rallies that are taking place around the state and around our country on a regular basis. There's an impatience. People want change tomorrow. They want to stop him tomorrow. Some of them are not realistic. We just don't have a majority in the House and the Senate. There's a limit to what we can do. But it is the starting point for any party that's out of the White House, as we will be in this next by-year election.
What do Democrats need to do to win back the majority? Because their approval rating nationally right now is not that great.
Well, having a unified message is tough when you don't have a candidate for president or a president. It's kind of a chorus instead of an individual that you focus on for that purpose. But we will be unified in our message, and the person who will unify us is Donald Trump. Let me tell you, that trade war that he has initiated in the United States is going to be devastating to the state of Illinois. Go to the Farm Bureau and ask to meet with them privately. They don't want to speak publicly about this. And ask them what it'll mean if we go through with tariffs on their exports. Go to the CEOs of corporations who called me and told me they were desperate to make a decision on their future, but they couldn't make it because of the prospect of these tariffs. He's creating a devastating economy, and that is the starting point of our election campaign.
Senator, life has seasons, and when you look back and think
that time I was in the United States Senate, what are the first one or two memories that come to mind?
Well, I don't know if it's quite that easy. I would tell you that it's an honor that I never dreamed that I would have. I've worked with some extraordinary people. I've witnessed history being made, and I think of the people I served with, Teddy Kennedy, John McCain, the list goes on and on from there. And they have basically, as far as I'm concerned, made history, and I witnessed it, was part of it in some instances. So that was important to me. But I'll also tell you that getting things done that make a difference in the lives of people I represent makes all the difference in the world. I look back, for example, on something I did in the House of Representatives. It seemed almost inconsequential to ban smoking on airplanes. It ended up being a tipping point, and the whole problem with health care and tobacco changed with that as a starting point. People started saying, if secondhand smoke is dangerous in an airplane, well, what about a bus? What about a train? What about an office building? What about a restaurant? And I want to add that my wife Loretta worked for the Lung Association and helped to change the law in Illinois to make it safer for people in restaurants and places like that.
Senator, can you go back to when did you first start considering that this was going to be your last term? And was there something that was sort of the tipping point for you?
No, it just came down to this. I'm 80 years old, all right? I feel good and strong and healthy and go to work like I'm supposed to, travel back and forth to Washington every week. But I had to project forward. The campaign's going to last 2 years, and then you're going to serve 6 years. So are you ready to make an 8-year commitment? That's the truth and the reality of the United States Senate. I didn't think at this point it was the right thing to do. I think it was the right thing to pass the torch on to another generation.
Do you have specific priorities for yourself, being in the minority party for this last year and a half in office?
Well, I'm going to look for opportunities, but I'm going to spend a lot of time talking to my Republican colleagues, many of whom have sent me nice messages in the last 24 hours. And I'm going to beg them to stand up and fight with us to protect the constitutional authority of the United States Senate. We can't give this away. Trade, for example, I know you follow agriculture very carefully. The trade war and the decisions on trade policy under the Constitution are on the backs of Congress. We said in an emergency situation we would delegate that to the president. This president is declaring emergencies that don't exist. We don't have an emergency situation with Canada. For God's sake, it's one of our most important trading partners. And now we're going into a trade war with Canada? Is that the message of the last presidential campaign? People laugh out loud when you say that. But it's sad that we've reached that point. The point I'm making to you is if we as a Congress step up and assert our constitutional authority and responsibility, then we can slow down this president from all these executive orders that he's been issuing.
Senator Durbin, can you say as to why you think Democrats have nationally a lower polling than they've had in decades? Why is that the case?
Well, there's a disappointment among some progressives that we lost the last election. But I think they can be brought back into the fold if we aggressively go after this administration and their violations of the Constitution and offer an alternative. In a short period of time, in the first 100 days, Donald Trump's approval ratings have been going downhill. And it just reflects the fact of how radical his ideas are and how unacceptable they are to most families. So, I think we can build this party. I think we can build it back into a majority party. We got to get started with the off-year election.
What do you think are some of the reasons why the polling has come down for Democrats? What are some of those specific things that you see where, that trip them up?
Well, there's a disappointment that we didn't address the issues, the cost of living issues. But remember this president, remember what he promised about the price of eggs and the price of food people face in the grocery stores? He doesn't talk about it anymore, does he? Because exactly the opposite is occurring. His trade war is going to raise prices on American families at a time when they thought the message of the last election was they had a friend in Donald Trump who would bring down costs for families. That's not a fact. It hasn't happened. And when we make that message clear across the board, I think it'll make a difference.
Senator, your thoughts on...
Back 29 years when you made that first announcement about your Senate run.
Yeah.
Give yourself some advice for the years ahead.
The diet? Go ahead.
What would that be? If you could give yourself some advice as you were announcing that first Senate run.
I learn as I go. I don't come in with a magic formula and follow that formula. And my magic formula, if there is one, is come home every week to Illinois. Make sure you keep in touch with this state from one corner to the next. Stick with your family and your base here in Springfield, but don't give up on Chicago. It's a great city. You know, it lets you in on a little secret. We did some polling after 10 or 12 years I've been in the Senate, and we asked the voters, where do you think Durbin's from? The people in Chicago said, well, of course he's from Chicago. And the people downstate said, well, of course he's from downstate. And I said, whatever we're doing, keep doing it. And it just meant being a person available all around the state at all times. And that really sees you through. You build up a base of support, and I tried to do that.
Given the tensions that exist between upstate and downstate Illinois, do you think that you leaving the Senate as a downstate Democrat exacerbates that?
No, I don't. I can't speak for the person who will succeed me as nominee, but I can speak for Tammy Duckworth. She spends a lot of time downstate, and for her it's a special challenge, and I respect her very much for it. She understands the importance of the whole state.
We're seeing a generational shift in the people that are now not running for Senate seats. Is an older member of the U.S. Senate?
I beg your pardon?
Grassley's got you there. Is there a need for that? Or did you ever feel that your age got in the way of the decisions you made or how you represented the
No, not at all. And let me tell you something. I made this point in other interviews. Bernie Sanders is older than I am. He's drawing thousands of people that rallies in places that red states with AOC and other people. He's got a lot of energy, and he's already announced he's running again in 2 years or 4 years, whenever he's up next. Chuck Grassley is a perfect illustration. He visits every county in his state every year. I sit next to Chuck in the Judiciary Committee. He is focused and energetic. We disagree on a lot of issues, but his age isn't holding him back. You got to be honest about this, though, and many times it's tough to be self-critical when it comes to something as personal as age. But I feel I'm strong enough to go forward, but I try to think 8 years ahead, and I think this is the right decision.
Senator, your thoughts on Citizens United and its impact? You know, we see these cartoonish third-party ads picking on the appearance of candidates. Just your thoughts on the impact of not only on elections, but just the way we view folks in Washington. Any negative concerns there?
I took a look at the decision speech or press conference of Paul Simon when he decided not to run for re-election. And he said there were two reasons, and this goes back, as I mentioned, to 1994. He made the announcement a week after the previous election for the one that he would be standing for re-election in. And he gave two reasons. He said the money cost of these campaigns is out of control. He said this in 1994. And you think to yourself, now, Paul, you wouldn't believe it today. Millions of dollars being spent is not uncommon at all. I gave an example. One industry, the cryptocurrency industry, pay attention to what's going on there. They are becoming major political players. They've decided that some people who want basic regulation of this industry to protect people who are buying into it have got to be defeated. Well, Sherrod Brown was one of those senators. He sits next to me on the Ag Committee. We vote identically on that subject. And you got to decide whether you're going to run based on your conscience or you're going to run based on fear of the money they're going to spend against you. They spent $40 million, that industry, against Sherrod Brown in the last election, and sadly he lost. So the reality is, as Paul worried about it, it's much worse today. But the second thing he said, you just alluded to, it wasn't just money. He said in 1994, there's too much meanness in politics. Oh, Paul, if you could only see it today, you wouldn't believe what's going on. And millions of dollars are being spent to muddy people up and to destroy their reputation in the community. That's just the reality.
Senator, one bill that you've championed for decades is the DREAM Act. It hasn't gotten across the finish line. You can reflect on that. And do you think there's a chance in Donald Trump's America that can get across the finish line before you leave?
I don't know. The first time I ever met Donald Trump, he had just been sworn in as president. I was at a luncheon. I walked up to him and I said, I want to talk to you about the DREAM Act. He said, you don't have to say another word. You're talking about those young kids, I'll take care of them. Within a matter of a year or two, he tried to destroy them, to eliminate the DREAM Act and DACA protections that they had, and he's done nothing to help them ever since. He has people working for him in the White House. Stephen Miller is one in particular, a domestic policy advisor who despises immigrants. Why do I say despises? Because I've been listening to him for 10 years, the speeches he wrote for senators and things that he said. As long as those people are getting the ear of the president, I'm afraid we won't be able to help those who are protected by DACA and the DREAM Act. But I'm not giving up. 830,000 DACA recipients are protected by that law. there should be millions more that are protected. These are innocent kids who came to the United States as infants and toddlers. Their parents made the decision to cross the border. They didn't. They grew up here and did everything right, pledged allegiance to the flag in their classrooms every morning, thought they were part of America, and learned probably when they were about 13 or 14 they were undocumented. Now this president wants to deport them if he can. I hope he doesn't get by with that. I'm going to fight him.
Senator, other than that, the DREAM Act, do you have any regrets or frustrations as you're preparing to wind down your congressional career?
Listen, the Dick Durbin plan for shaping up America is still there. I'm making a joke here. I have a lot of ambitions and things I'd like to see improved in this country. I'll get a chance to work on some of them before I leave, some of them I won't. But at some point you've got to come to trust that the next generation will feel as you do and work hard to get things done. I can just tick off 10 or 12 bills where the principal sponsor came up with an idea that he couldn't get across the finish line, but someone succeeded him and did that. I've got confidence that the ideas and values that I've fought for are going to eventually prevail. I may not be at the signing of the bill, but that's not the important thing. It's important that it get done for the good of this country. Let me close by saying thanks to the media. A lot of you came a long way and sacrificed to be part of this announcement today. I appreciate your coverage over the years, and I hope I've been available as you've needed me as much as I possibly can. I'll continue to be through this election for the friends, family, and staff who've come here from around the state. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.